4:15 p.m. on Wednesday, February 5th, 2025, and I call this February meeting of the City of Merrill Park and Recreation Commission to order. First item on our agenda, consider approving the minutes from the previous meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? December 2024 meeting minutes are approved. Thank you. Next agenda item, claims. So we'll start with the December 2024 claims. Looking like we have start on page 1 of claims. Any questions on the first page of the December claims?
Mine went open. I don't remember. Oh, here it is. I did have one question. I don't remember what month it was on, though.
Continue looking. We'll be sure we get that.
Okay, I got it.
But we will. Does anyone else have any question on page 2 of the December claims?
The annual painting, Dan, is that annual, or is that like, what the heck was it?
It's annual. That's ice
Okay,
ice
that's what I
painting.
figured.
We starting a few years ago. We contract R&R. They do nothing but ice painting. And because we had found was we have to find it takes up all of our staff, and we have to buy the supplies anyway.
Sure.
And it takes us almost 2 full days to do it. They come up and they're gone by lunch.
Perfect.
And that's all these guys do. So they
Nice.
are efficient. It costs a little bit, but we probably save every bit of what we spend.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
For the brass bench plate, is that for that bench that we had talked about where they gave the donation, the VFW maybe?
Most likely the brass.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the heated vest, do we
One-
supply that? Like, I guess, what is that?
Our 3 guys, each one of them get like a certain amount of clothing allowance, and if you
Okay.
want to spend it on the whole thing on a heated vest, you can, or you get a shirt or sweatshirt or something. Just
Okay, thank you.
Is that a set amount per year?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I guess I was curious about the, on the page 2, street department, P1 Kubota zero-turn mower. I guess I was just curious if that was like, what exactly that meant.
Zero turn. That's one of our zero turns.
Right, yeah, I knew the lawnmower, but the street department side of things, is that like us paying them for the maintenance, or?
Yes. Yep. The street department mechanics do
Okay.
our work on our machines, whether it's routine servicing or repairs.
Okay,
And then usually once they accumulate a few weeks or so worth of bills or a month, sometimes they'll send us their work orders, and we do have to pay them a lot of yeah.
okay.
Any other questions on the December claims? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the December claims as submitted.
I'll motion.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the claims, December claims. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? December claims are approved. January claims, is it the short one-page, Dan?
Yes, it is.
Okay, any questions on the January claims?
What's the civic rec? I think I asked this last year, but I don't remember what you said it was.
That's our online registration and reservation system, the one that we take all of our park shelter reservations and we do all of our recreation program registrations on there. So that, yeah, that thing is paid for itself about 150 times over.
And then the heat exchanger and the.
The-
They gotta put that this order.
As in,
Uh-oh.
yeah, we didn't have heat in our office or the entryway at the Smith Center at all in the winter until just before Christmas. So we went, and luckily October wasn't too bad, but we went October, November, and most of December with no heat.
I didn't see any mittens on here.
Just have to work a little hard.
Tough it up. That's,
And the bus trip, the Brewer bus trip,
yep, it's a Brewer bus trip.
there was a bus trip now?
We have to, it's the arrangements for the bus trip that we're doing this summer. We have to book the bus and then tickets.
So that's like a deposit or something?
That's the cost for the bus to go to Milwaukee and back.
Okay. So why do you have to pay that in advance?
To reserve the bus probably, right?
Yeah,
It's a reservation, it's a portion
Pretty
of the
much.
cost?
You're paying
Yeah,
for
that-
it and then sell tickets.
yeah, we have to reserve the bus in order to go to the Brewer trip.
Reserve and pay for it up front.
It is, well, reserving is paying for it. We are reserving it by paying for it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Just used to paying things when it actually happens. I mean, I understand a deposit, but cash flow wise, why would it have to be paid up front? Is this Lamers or?
It is, yes. Yep.
Okay. Maybe that's their policy, don't know.
Yeah, obviously you guys see we do business with hundreds of vendors a year. Some do it one way, others do it the other way. But we've done this for 15 years or so now, so
Okay.
we have
Yeah,
to,
maybe the terms.
yep.
Okay. We just, we just don't pay for it till it happens.
I know,
If it doesn't
I
happen.
wish we had enough.
You're in a, now how do we get our money back?
We get our money back if, but there's a certain, I think if it's within 30 days or something, you can cancel it without. So if our tickets don't go well or something, we can back out of it.
Okay.
Any other questions on the January claims? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the January claims.
All motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the January claims. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? January claims are approved. Getting into our general agenda then, first general agenda item, discuss the 5-year capital plan.
Okay. This one, I bring to you more so by habit. This wasn't really something this year. I know we have a new finance director, and we really didn't have a mandate or an order or a directive that said that we should do this, but it's a good habit to at least look at where we're at, especially after kind of the topsy-turvy budgetary process that we went through last year. And I wanted to use this to kind of show you what things look like as we have talked in years past when we have either unfunded projects and or partially funded projects, and how we mesh and meld them into future years going forward. Not looking to have any approvals or anything. I just simply want to have this discussion and kind of show you the cumulative effect that takes place with this process when it goes the way that it did last year, and that is what it is. I also I want to use this opportunity, being that we do have 2 alderpersons in here and the camera going, to, I guess, plead for there to be some thought put to an amount for capital. It doesn't need to be an exact amount or a ballpark amount, so that it helps with budgeting this for us and every department for that matter. But if there's a target goal or an approximate goal that, whether it's overall or per department, it would certainly help with how this gets forecasted, and I think it would really help the process once we get to it in September, October, leading towards November, for both sides. It provides clarity from a commission and a departmental standpoint, and I think it provides some directional oversight from the oversight committee, which is city council. Ultimately, they're the ones that make this decision. That's my soapbox speech, but I've been here for 20-some years, and I've really hoped and dreamt for this to maybe maybe it seems too easy to me as well, but last year when we talked about this, I remember, well, you guys were both there, but when we were talking about trying to reinsert 25,000 for Streeter Square, the basketball courts, and there was a comment or two from a council member that said, well, if we reinsert 25,000 for that project, where are you going to take 25,000 out of from something? And man, I don't have that answer because I don't know what that magic threshold is or what number we need to be aspiring for, what the goal is, because there isn't one. So, just
I
to,
guess what's your average, like, that's been approved for the last 10 years? You probably don't have that offhand,
all
but
over the place.
is it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've had some years where, we've had 4 or 5 things that were,
Yeah, big ticket.
a couple, 2, 3, 400,000, and it's been, yep.
Right.
Without a hitch, and there's been other, last year we asked, I think it was 190,000 total or something like that, and we were trimmed down to, 70-something, I think?
Yeah.
So, and again, it is what it is. I do respect the process and the ultimate decisions that are made. They're not, it's we have this discussion, but it's my job throughout our department to come up with things that we know are either broken or about to, or property that is wearing down, or things that need to be replaced, and then, bring it to you guys, and you guys ultimately say yay or nay, or add, subtract, tweak, however that is, and then it goes to city council, and ultimately it's theirs, their decision to make, and whatever decision they make, I'm completely good with. But yeah, we just kind of, there's some years where, especially in a department like ours, where we have a lot of equipment, a lot of property, a lot of facilities. If things are going good, running smooth, and we've been fortunate to have some replacements that keep us up to date, typically we can get by with certain things. There's other years where, and some of these things do come down to funding certain things, especially when you get to equipment or facilities. You push some things off, and it adds up, and there are certain commodities that if you just, due to inflation or whatever the scenario is, it could cost you 10,000 this year. You ask for 10,000, and I know it's sometimes difficult for people to swallow. You come back the next year with that request for 15, 16, whatever thousand, because that's what it costs, and it depends on what type of goods go into the manufacturing of that certain thing or whatever it is, but.
On that topic, Dan, what is the total that was approved? Because as I go through the column here, for example, remove, repave Streeter Square, 40 is crossed off, there's 5 here, but it says unfunded.
5,000 was given to remove the basketball court.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's removal, actually, is what,
Is it tagged as removal, or
but it
is it
says.
just,
It
it's
was-
in there, right?
It says unfunded.
That would be my mistake. It's partial. I forgot to put the partial
Okay,
underneath that.
okay.
But there's 5,000 there. Yeah, and the 5,000 they said was to go towards removal, but we've had this discussion here. I don't know that we really want to remove it because it still serves a purpose. It's just in bad shape. The pavement is. The hoops are okay, but. So yeah,
So it's like 79,000?
Mhm.
I guess the total. I was just trying to
yep.
add up. So 79,000 was approved. The major one was the
Pool heater.
pool here. Okay. And pumps, 45. There's 45,000 of it right there, right?
Yeah, well, the next biggest one then was the entrance signs from 30 down to 15.
Okay.
And
Which
then-
I find that still funny that you have to pay for the entrance signs with a new logo when it was the board's decision to change the logo. So why does it come out of your budget?
Well, so for this one's a little more complex than that. Our signs are in bad shape, so they need to get replaced
Sure.
regardless. And if there is some of that money in the marketing account, we would gladly take some of that. I think we had that discussion on the council floor a little bit, and it didn't go all that far, but that might be something that we can raise as we go on this year to see if we can maybe. revisit it, have some funding so that we don't have to do some of our signs and then come back and do them again, because it's powder coated steel. So what we get, the 15,000 we get this year, it's going to take 20-ish next year. It won't be 15. It just flat out won't be 15. So again, that's philosophically speaking, that's what the council decided, and I respect that. It just, sometimes when there are things like this, 30,000 for 1 year or 35,000 for 2 years is what it probably ends up coming out to most likely. But again, there's other pieces to the puzzle that they have to fit in. I don't envy that job.
I think some of them, like the pool stuff where there's 5 items, it's nice to have them staggered though, so they're not all the same age. I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking with some of those.
Yeah, and that is fine, because then we don't have even aged things. That's what they are.
Or the skates,
Yeah. Yep.
because they were in pretty tough shape when I looked at them.
Yeah. They are. They certainly are. So, yeah, and like I said, just wanted to have this discussion, and we'll dive deeper into this once we get to, that mid to late summertime when we really start to have these discussions and have to start looking at making a decision. I honestly think that it's good to show this in a 5-year forecast just for, it's kind of a humbling experience, and at the same time, it's an educational experience too, and I try to put the footnotes at the bottom of that too, because there are certain items that, aren't even on here that could be considered or may end up working their way up to the top, that could change the way that we look at these things. So, we said this before, just because they're unfunded or partial doesn't mean that they go away. It just means that they have to get sprinkled into either the next year or subsequent years after that. It makes a long list a little bit longer. And I'm not expecting, we're not going to get everything again next year, and nor should we expect that. But I think, again, I really do strongly believe that if there was a target given to us, a directive given to us by city council that says we're comfortable spending X amount, and then leave it up to each department or collectively all departments to come up with that list that totals 500,000. That way it keeps the politics out of it too. No offense, but we, especially even here at Park and Rec Commission, we know more about what we need than anybody else does. You guys do a fantastic job of understanding what's going on and asking questions and digging into knowing what we do, when we do it, where we do it, why we do it, what we do it for.
I guess I just had a few comments, and one comment, one question maybe. I guess the comment would be, I think the connecting Prairie Trails to City Forest should maybe move up in our timetable a little bit, because I feel like that's a pretty important connection to make. Ice Age Trail community, Riverbend Trail, the bike trails at the City Forest, etc. That would be very beneficial, I think, to do that, and sooner is better than later in that sense. I guess the question I would have is, I see like Streeter Square playground on here, and obviously the basketball court, maybe potentially location TBD splash pad. Would it be better to request just a generic Streeter Square revitalization dollar amount, or I guess it gets into that same.
I would ask with that, I think you're going to have to.
I had that thought when I was kind of redoing this a little bit, when you start looking at crossing off a number of projects into one project, definitely yes. If you're asking me, yes. I was just also trying to figure out, is that if we package them, and I don't know this answer, if we package them, does that make it more of a surefire no? Or if we piecemeal this
Mhm.
one at a time, can we, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't, because seems like if numbers get to a certain point on some of these asks, it is difficult to get beyond that.
Yeah.
But I wholeheartedly agree that if we're going to do some projects, renovations, or work at a location, and then the following year, there's gonna be something else that we request, or within the subsequent year after, it makes more sense to mobilize in that spot, tear it up, do it once.
Yeah.
Well, and yeah, what is the vision for Streeter Square as a park?
Right.
I think Kyle's got a good point.
I guess, sorry, you could go ahead.
That, you know, the basketball court, you know, there's not a basketball hoop on every garage like there was when I grew up. And, you know, for disadvantaged kids, or, you know, do we want a good basketball team in Merrill, or we don't care at all? You know, it's the location, it serves, you know, the population. It's a good central location if, you know, you have some kids who are in apartments downtown, living upstairs. Or, you know, as you said, the basketball hoops, the pole, et cetera, in pretty good shape, right?
Yes.
So why demo it? So if the basketball court is part of kind of the vision for Streeter Square, and this would probably be this group that would help you develop it, then maybe we would have a better job selling, even if it was phased, saying, well, here's what we want to do with Streeter Square. So just building off of Kyle's idea.
Yeah, I was going to add one more comment to that is, I know how crucial the partnership with City Band and the Optimists have been for Normal Park, and I guess if we had a revitalization plan, it would maybe open it up for other community groups to help chip in on something like that.
I think part of the concern is needing bathrooms. If we replace the basketball courts and if it gets to be too much, I think there was concern that we would need to provide bathrooms.
Per code or per?
I'm not
Convenience.
sure.
I
It's
don't think there's a code for
It's per convenience.
having basketball courts.
Yeah.
It seems like you're right, though, looking back, Prairie Trails and Normal Park, every time it's good, we develop an area very quickly after there's more use. There have been requests from the community for bathroom
Mhm.
facilities, which isn't bad, but I can see where that came from, because just historically, very quickly, like, when a new area gets developed, or an area gets developed more and people are using it more, then the request comes for bathrooms, which you don't have to do, but it has been a regular request, would you say?
Although if
Yeah.
it's used primarily with the people in the proximity, what do you need a bathroom for?
Correct. For a neighborhood park.
Yeah.
mean, like
I can
that.
check on that.
Yeah.
That was also,
Yeah, we don't want to get pulled into that.
well,
So a lot of the places that so with the restroom thing, and I do know this answer, is we don't have to have them there. If we want to start, if we put a little shelter there and want to reserve it, and are going to use it like we do with our reservable shelters and other spots, then we have to have a restroom there, because we are inviting people to congregate there for whatever reasons in an organized fashion, as set up by us. But this is a neighborhood park that would be, everything that we do at Streeter Square is drop-in. If you're cruising around on your bike and you and your buddies want to go and shoot some hoops, you can go shoot some hoops. If you want to use the playground or picnic area, that is what that is intended for. But with the restrooms, like a lot of the other ones, it would be, we would probably get more use out of the restrooms there. Not that it's a bad thing, but we would just have random usage there. That it would just be a bathroom spot too. So, and bathrooms are expensive, even if we would we would probably do something like a Huff Cut precast, but it's still gonna cost, in the neighborhood of 50 to 75,000. Good 50 for sure to put restrooms there. So, and again, that, go ahead.
I just, and I don't mean to, it's not, is there a point where we have to look at, if the city doesn't want us putting money into it? Because you also got on here coming up playground equipment there. I can't see them wanting to put playground equipment there if they don't want to redo the basketball court. Is there a point where we have to look at, well, do we get rid of this park?
We can't, it was a donation.
I think we can, but
I asked that and. it
There was
said that we-
stipulation in the gifting,
I
in
think so,
writing
yeah.
that said it can never be developed.
That was my understanding, that the city we couldn't get rid of it.
That's not a bad idea, Chad. I mean,
I'm
Which-
just throwing it, because me and you had to talk about, I think it would be a great place when we talked about the moving from Normal Park, the
Farmers.
farmer's market.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that, we got a great big area, it'd be hard, there, but I mean, if the city doesn't want us to take care of it, does it come to a point where it's gonna start becoming an eyesore more than anything else?
Yeah, and we, along with a number of other departments, are heading towards a crossroads of decisions that we will have to look at and have some uncomfortable conversations. You don't like to have it, but it is going to be more and more difficult to look at how we fund things and how things are funded or aren't funded when we have, again, the amenities that we have. Playgrounds, once they start to wear out, they start to wear out. I mean, you know that from being on the school board and stuff. When our playgrounds get used, we check them all the time and we maintain them, but there's only a certain amount of S-hooks you can replace in there, and chains and other things before some of the tube steel starts to go and the other things start to rust, and we cover them up and we do this and we maintain them and do that. We've replaced the deck on there once because somebody tried to light it on fire. Et cetera, but there's only so many times that you can do that, and, they are closing in on, 30 years, some of them or more. So,
well, and the city is always talking about the lack of buildable lots. Now, I'm not trying to say, hey, rah, let's fill it up with houses, but if you're not going to develop it as a park or redevelop it, given it's no longer baseball, what does the community want it to be?
Yep.
And maybe bringing up the alternative maybe gets people thinking about, okay, let's decide what we want Streeter Square to be, because otherwise, might as well go ahead and redevelop it with housing. It's right there by downtown, it'd be highly desirable. Now you're generating tax revenue. I'm not arguing for that, I'm just saying that may spur the conversation.
yeah. Oh, yeah, no, those are unfortunately things that may be in the realm of thought or possibility, hopefully never, but not everything is off the table. And
I'm on the record too, I'm not saying that we should.
yeah, I know.
I know this is video, I'm just saying, there comes a point where a hard decision might have to be made.
Well, I think you raise a good point, maybe bringing this back, which maybe we should, because this is all good discussion, but, we're not really, I don't think, talking about capital items, that'll be in September, but it comes back to where Dan started, like, as a commission, we could use some guidance, because how much of our time do we put into coming up with a revitalization plan for Streeter Square if for the next 5 to 10 years there's no funding for that or no funding forthcoming? Then it does bring up the question, well, then do we keep that as a park or explore other options?
Yeah.
And I think we would just like some guidance from the community or the council what to do, because probably not too many of us were on the Park and Rec Commission, hopefully because we like recreation in our parks.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's very good points in discussion. If we're not going to maintain it and use it, we probably don't need a vacant lot to mow.
Is there a upcoming strategic plan or any planning where there'd be an opportunity, Dan, for you to ask for that guidance?
2027 is when we redo our outdoor recreation plan. They're 5 years, so this current one is 2023 through 27. So actually, next year, we will start having that discussion. So, because we
Okay.
always plan it so that it goes live, it's approved and goes live at some point in 2027. Yeah, and, you know, there are ways too, without having to sell lots or do other things, that we keep it as parkland. And, you know, if a playground isn't in the cards to be funded, or you know, grants are not as easy as they were when I first started 25 years ago, where, you know, they had all of the stewardship grants divvied into northern region, east, west, and south. So if you wrote one year and you didn't get it the next year, you were not guaranteed, but you had a really good shot at getting some funding or match to replace some of these things. But, you know, to steal a phrase from Disney, there might be some areas that have to be reimagined. And if it is something as simple as streeter, that might be something that has a little walkway that goes from each corner to each corner, and, you know, some picnic tables, because it is used a lot more than people think, just for people to walk over and have a picnic and you know, enjoy some outdoors as an extended backyard is what that has always been utilized for. So, you know, we may just not have it programmed as much, but again, I think this stimulates good discussion that hopefully leads to additional good discussion at the council level to hopefully consider that. I hope that that's something that can come out of this, is to have a target.
And every department's like this?
Yeah.
You have your budget to run, but then any
Yep.
things you want to do, they just submit.
Yep, and it goes through their oversight committees before it goes up to city council. So Police and Fire Commission or Board of Public Works, which handles water utility and street department. But yeah, they have the same discussions that we have. And I understand that we're some, how do I put this? Non-essential. I don't like using the word non-essential. We're not the police. We're not fire, and we're not streets and water. But we are vital to the community, because a lot of businesses or people, when they look to relocate, and I also don't mean this with any disrespect to other departments, they're going to look to see how vibrant is your community. What is there to do when we're not at work, or what is there to do for our family, our children. You know, we get a lot of people that stop in by us, especially in the summertime when school's out, if they're looking to relocate or move or job, whatever the case may be. And then after that, then they start looking at, all right, you know, what do you have for a police department, fire department? Do you have drinking? Do you have running water? Do you plow your roads? Other things like that. But we are way up on the pecking order when it comes to what people are looking for when they want to come here, and for what people that live here, whether it's for a year or two or their entire lives. There's a reason why we can be lightning rods. For those of us that have been around long enough, there are certain topics if we put on our agenda, we're more well attended a lot of times than a lot of city council meetings, because people care about parks and they care about recreation, and that's a good thing. So,
Gonna say experience more to life. Well, to me, parks is a big part of that.
absolutely, it is. So yeah, I mean, I meant to dabble in that a little. I apologize for going off.
It was good discussion, though. Nope, I think it was really good discussion. And do you have is there a way to, like, would you foresee it as a discussion item at a council meeting? Is it something you as a department head would put a request through? Like, is there anything we can do to get this discussion
I think
that we've
you
had?
can request that too. Or,
You can, yep, Rod, our city
Yeah.
administrator, and this would maybe be something that would be, right now, I don't know if anybody's thinking this, but there probably would have to be a little bit of thought put into that, but, it would be worth looking into. I know that we here are not alone in this thought, that this is something that I have quite a few conversations with other departments about. And I honestly think it makes it easier for everybody. It makes it easier to say no. You're actually saying no. You're putting limitations on, we could sum up this discussion almost right now if we knew what we had to spend.
I was just saying, it might make it easy. I've never been on council, but it might make it easier for not only the current council, but future councils to at least have some, they can change it, but some guidelines. This is what we decided to do then, and this is why. Or this is the guidance. This is, the economic parameters that we had, or realities we had to come up with these numbers.
Yeah. And I know WASA does it. I asked our new finance director, Emily, about this when her and I got together to start talking about our budget before bringing it to you guys last year, and she came from WASA, and she said, yeah, they have an amount that their city council pretty much every year, give or take a little bit that they do, and everyone kind of understands this is about where they need to be. There are years that are a little bit more challenging, if, for instance, you have an issue with a water tower, or, there's always going to be things that throw you for a loop, especially with the amount of services that a city provides. But overall, they try to stay within a certain parameter. And at least according to her, she said that it kind of takes some of the pushing and shoving out of it, and there's some that like that portion of it too. I understand that. That's part of the game. But if we can fix the game a little bit so that everybody at least understands that this is what it is, still have that debate. It's good to have it if it's healthy.
Does anyone have any parting thoughts on this topic? And then maybe Dan and as a council representative, you guys could follow up a little bit and see if you can come up with an idea to
bring up the
take this
question.
to a little bit bigger level, and let us know what you find out, or if there's anything we need to do. Does that seem reasonable? Good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you, everyone, for the good discussion. Next agenda item, I think it was a few months ago already, we had our initial discussion about maybe some of the needs or benefits of developing special event permits. What have you found out in your research, Dan, and where is that at in the process?
Okay, I in your packets, I put a draft together of, this is the first draft. I just wanted you guys to take a peek at this on kind of taking bits and pieces from bigger cities, smaller cities, cities that are similar in size, and a few in between. And I think when we discussed this back in December, I think it was, there was some that I thought were way too complicated. At least personally and professionally, I don't want this to be something that bogs people down or drives them away or scares them away from renting our parks and facilities and shelters. We want our parks and facilities and shelters to be booked every day of the week, year round. We want people to use them. That's why they're there. There's some that charge $100, no refund for this to be filled out and reviewed, and there's a $25 fee for this and a $25 fee for that on top of this, on top of that. It just, the goal behind this is to help us and help the event organizer to discover and stimulate questions that should come out during the planning process. Okay, I have Stang Park rented, and we're going to have 1,000 people down there. we know that there's restrooms down there that can handle, a certain amount. You can, I mean, it's open all the time. That's probably not going to cut the mustard. We put a few 96-gallon garbage containers down there for them to utilize. We don't have those capabilities for a massive gathering. So these are things that, expectations that we set forth first. There's things that they probably may not have thought about when they're looking at doing things. It's just meant to be something that stimulates the conversation, the thought process, the planning process, so that we know about what is going to happen or is going on. We can take that information if we know that. And I did have a conversation with the street department, with the police department, and with the fire department to have them look this over before I sent it off to you guys. And there was a few changes that they made that helped with this, and there might be a few others too as we go on. But at least this is a good first draft. There might be a few things that I want to tweak on this, but I wanted to show you guys at first. Again, it's to help with the planning process for the organizer. It's to help with us to gather vital information so that we don't have a phone call on Friday at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night saying, hey, forgot to mention that tomorrow we're going to have 800 people at this place. What are we supposed to do? Don't like to say it's your problem, because it kind of is, but if we can help them ahead of time, and if you want a tent, you call Digger's Hotline, and here's where you can and can't put it. If you need extra garbage, well, call any one of the 2 or 3 or 4 refuse businesses that we have around here. They'd be more than happy to help you out with a dumpster or some carts or whatever the case may be. But just to finally help us help ourselves and help organizers help themselves and help us at the same time. So I just wanted to gather your thoughts and see what you think, if there's anything that, and again, I don't want to charge anybody for this. I do not believe in that. I want this just to be something that goes to those that, maybe this would be like a part of their receipt when they book it online or something, or if they come in, we can give it to them and they just please take a look at this. If you meet especially that first threshold for events with anticipated attendance to exceed 100 people, fill this out. And if they're right at 100 and they're going to do a quick square dancing session for an hour and that's all they want to do, you're probably all right. We can have that, but we have that discussion. We know what it's about and they know what it's about. If it's something beyond that, well, hey, I think if we're at 700-800 people at Normal Park and we don't know where to park, okay, well, here, and we'll put their information on here, but contact street department, the police department, and the fire department. That way, if there is, when you work with them, we can, if you want to close this street or that street or the 3 streets around there, you can. Here's the process to do that. Here's get them to the right place that they need to do it. If we're going to do that, please, you can't do this spot, because if somebody does have a medical emergency or if something happens, fire department's going to need to access this here off limits. If a storm blows in, what are you going to do? How do you get people out of here? Just things like that aren't really thought about, that I get to deal with all the time. And we have some groups, we Fast Pitch, we worked with them for so long, and I was involved in a lot of that stuff, but those are things that just kind of come naturally, because it's been part of the project that we've built in between that and baseball and other things but there's others that don't have that train of thought. So
I think that looks good.
okay, is any additions or subtractions, or you
The only thing so if you got fireworks, like some of this where permits are needed,
yep.
Do you need to say, okay, yes, let's say I'm gonna have fireworks. Are you gonna wanna know that I got the permit before I have the fireworks? I don't know, so my question is, how much do you want to be liable? So now, I say yes to fireworks, and I blew off $5,000 with fireworks, everybody's calling. and I didn't get the permit. So now does that fall back on your department because I didn't have the permit? And you would say on here, and the same with like beer, or with, alcohol consumption, and the food trucks, okay, I have 5 food trucks, 3 of them didn't have permits, 3 people got sick, or 100 people got sick, but I said yes, but okay, did Dan make sure all the, I'm just.
No, that's a
I'm
good,
just-
that's why I
When
have.
look at like softball, when I look at softball stuff, how much do we want to be liable for? The more you say you want, the more you're liable.
Yeah, no,
No,
that's a good,
Permit, I don't know how much falls on you then.
no, that's a good point. Nothing will fall on us. That's one of the other reasons why we do this, but that's a good point. I just made a note here too. So what I'll add a piece in here it goes with the flow, hopefully, and I'll bring this back to you guys, but, the note I put was, how do we follow up with permits must give to us before events, so that we have proof that they did what they said that they were gonna do, and then through that process, they would have had to have gone through, let's say it's fireworks and it has to go through, clerk's office, then through fire department. So city clerk would have that because it has to go through there via the fire department, and then we have that copy. So yes, that would be. And I know I talked to city attorney too. He looked at this, and our insurance, our municipal insurance carrier is reviewing this as well. One of the things that, and I put some of the language on here, but it's like legal beagle to do this, but the hold harmless is where it all falls to, is having the right language on there. I copied some from the other ones that was on page 3. Event organizer will complete hold harmless agreement with the City of Merrill as well as supply certificate of insurance, indemnifying the City of Merrill and its employees against all claims. There's some language that has to get added in between it, like its employees, its agents, so on and so forth. All claims, damages, costs, and expenses, including reasonable attorney's fees, blah, blah, blah. Pardon I don't like using the word blah, 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 but that would be something that we would have as an agreement that goes with this. So these were just the footnotes that I put in here so that we could have discussion on some of those things.
This page would be part of that then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, but I would
I guess I
pull,
didn't-
yep, so like the hold harmless would come out of there, and that hold harmless would actually be a hold harmless agreement that goes with this. I'm just waiting for Tom and the League of Municipalities, our insurance provider, to massage whatever language that would cover us completely, that would go, and if they have any other things that they want to add. They like the first version of this. It's just, they like to tinker with this stuff, with the hold harmless and all of that stuff. So,
And the other thing I had is, bathrooms. Is there so like, if I rent normal, is there a number that I have, that the bathrooms can hold? Is there like a code and the bathroom can only handle 50 people for an event, or 75?
there is a number. We don't list that and that would probably be something that we could add in there too, that this, if it's, I use 100 because 100 is typically that breaking point, more so for restrooms, and just room in general. You look at vehicles and parking and all that stuff. Do we have enough by code restrooms for 100 at just about every one of our parks? I believe so, because I think when you're in an outdoor space, trying to think, it's been a while. Stang was the last one we did, and I think that one accommodates, is it one stall per 50 or 75 or something like that, is what it actually does when you're in an outdoor setting versus an indoor setting. So, but yeah, that's another good point too. That's why I bring it to you guys, the thinkers.
One thing I like, Dan, kind of that you pointed out, even though it's got that name, event permit, it's really a informational document for the organizers as well, to make sure they're aware of all these things they should be aware of, if they're using one of ours. I mean, it does help us out too, because it's going to go better for everyone if they make sure they don't miss a big obvious thing. So I think that seems like that's a big part of the reason for it.
Do you think we just scratch, even in the heading there, special event application? Because it is an application. But that we want them to fill out and,
I don't know, permit, does it have a negative connotation? I don't know.
yeah.
I don't, does anyone else have thoughts? What else would you call it? A special event registration form? Maybe that's a little, I don't know. I wasn't opposed to permit per se.
The only thing, when I hear a permit, when you first brought it up, I'm like, well, now he's gonna charge me again.
Yeah,
Well,
I
most
think that's-
most
And then,
permits.
You know, and I think you brought it up right away, like, well, is this something we're gonna pay for?
Yep. And I can switch that around. I do kind of want, just personally, the permit part, it does grab your attention though, because it's something that we do want people to fill out, and then maybe like up on the heading part there, we put in big letters, no fee. Because I don't want people that, when they're looking at this, go, oh, I'm not gonna rent that. Just, can you do this so that we, and also if something does happen, you know, we have the right contact information, and we kind of have at least a, no pun intended, a ballpark idea of what's going on, who it's for. We have had a few, and luckily we discovered it because they told us. We have in the past, it's been a little while, people that wanted to rent parks for some things that were really unique that were not in the best interest of our community. I ain't gonna get into those details when the camera's rolling, but we have had some things like that that didn't fit anything that a community should be.
So then registration probably would be the right word.
Yeah,
I think the permit is the right, because if you're filling this out, I should have to reserve a park. You know what I mean?
Hmm?
Right now, the way we're set up, I could hold 200 person thing, and I can take my chances of going into a park.
Hmm?
You know what I mean? At least this requires you to reserve that park. I mean, if I'm holding a 200 person thing, I should have to reserve a park. I mean, because just the garbage I'm gonna be adding there, and,
Yep.
you know, I think the permit, I think, is the right way to go. You know, calling a permit, that way it's requiring me to at least, I know I gotta reserve a park. I just can't have it.
Yeah, and I think when I talked to Corey at PD too, you know, what I wanted to do then ultimately is just, we could come up, it doesn't take much more than 5 minutes to come up with just a little permit certification or something like that they can take with them with their park reservation form that they already get. But that way, you know, police they do a good job because we don't have park rangers like other communities, so, you know, they only, once in a while, if I'm riding around or if our guys are opening the parks in the morning or something like that, you do run into some weird stuff. But at least if PD is out on normal routine patrol and they see a gaggle of people at a park, they can go up and say, hey, what you got going on? You guys have a permit? You know, and at that point they can say, yeah, we do. And you guys also, because there would be a spot that we would initial, and PD, you know, the applicable departments would then be aware of, okay, yeah, we're good, or we're not good.
Or you can give them a heads up. Say,
Yep.
hey, we got, this weekend, we got this thing
And-
planned.
Yep, and we would share that with them
Yeah.
so that, so they're aware of that. You know, hey, can you at some point on Saturday, whoever's on patrol, just make sure you cruise through by the Agri Pavilion, because they have a tent down there. It sounded like it was gonna be a pretty decent crowd, and they're shooting off $100,000 worth of fireworks at the Center Ave Bridge, whatever.
And you're pretty good about it, because I know even with our tournament, we even ask. I mean, I think you call them even, and I usually, if we see them, just say, hey, we're having a tournament, can you make an extra pass through? Because we leave stuff out,
Yep.
freezers and stuff, and they're usually pretty good about doing it too, so.
Yep, very good.
So then, next steps on this, Dan, moving forward, at some point, it'll come to us for approval. Is that
Yes.
the commission for approval?
Yes.
Do you know, are you visioning one more discussion item and then an approval, or might the next time we see this be, it's not that it matters, but, and do you have a time when ideally you'd like it in place?
I think by May, even if it's not by May, by June for sure. We do have a fair amount of shelter reservations, but nowhere near what happens when we start popping off. And this first year, because this is something that, we'll work our way into this year. This is something that some people that typically do things are going to have to get used to because they might be a little bit behind the times, but we can at least start weaning people onto this. So, yeah. I hope that I can have, I know that February is a short month, but hopefully I can get the information I need back from the League of Municipalities and Tom and then work some of these changes in here. If I have it ready to go, we'll put it on the agenda for March.
And if you want, you can send it to me and I can fill it out as, a sample for like our tournament, our softball tournament.
Mhm.
Everybody can see
Yep.
what would be in it. It shouldn't,
Yeah.
you say, what it looks like,
Yep, absolutely.
something that you don't have to do yourself, then you can just send it to me, I can fill it out.
Well, either way, no problem. Okay,
Any other questions right now about that? Okay, thank you, Dan.
thank you.
And then, the next agenda item, can you illuminate us on the Mark Ballfield Lights grant, please?
Can illuminate, yes. A couple weeks ago, went with a representative from Merrill Fast Pitch, Lindsay Steinagel, who has been an integral part of this process for writing a Bierman family grant, a Bierman Foundation grant for the lights at the Merrill Area Recreation Complex. And the good news is we did receive approval for funding for the lights. So there was, they approved 2 for sure, so the Diamonds 1 and 2, and then it's about 99%, I'm about 99.9% sure that they said if we're gonna do this, can we do fields 3 and 4 at the same time? And they asked that I go back to just make sure that if that dollar figure would fit within what they're willing to give towards the lights, which it should. So that next morning I reached out to Musco, who's been helping us with a lot of the information, and so they're kind of reworking theirs. Kind of asked a little bit differently before. It was either 1 and 2 or all of them, but this way, because they're all 4 in that area, they have some information too that they have to gather as far as electrical service, and because I talked to Greg from Musco last week and again yesterday just to see where we're at as far as getting that, because then when I get that number, I'll just go back to them and show them what it is so that we can get a double thumbs up on 4 fields. So good news. It's a long time coming for the Mark. It's going to be a fantastic addition for high school team, the newly formed last year Legion teams, the City League teams for practices, for the Legion State Tournament that Chad and the crew are going to host this summer. Those are things that transformatively can bring more of those types of things to our community. They can bring in some more teams to the tournament. It brings a bigger impact on our economy. It's a good thing.
And I'm sorry if you just said this and I missed it, but do you have like a timeline on when the lights would go on? If everything, gets approved and it goes forward?
I don't. So I talked to them and they said right now their lead time is 16 to 18 weeks or 15 to 18, one of the two. But this is something that we'll have to bid out. So we'll have to and I'll, like last time, like when we did athletic, I'll use their specs and write it to Musco just because of the warranty they have and their industry reputation. And we'll have to get that out, and because it has to be, I'll invite others to bid. This isn't something that we put in the photo news and have people, we don't have, nobody has lighting experts that have their own poles, posts, lighting, and other things like that. So there's a couple of Wisconsin companies that I will invite to bid, and we just have to make sure that we get it set up so it's apples to apples. So if we can get if everything, the stars align perfectly, it would be end of summer, and we may be close to what that deadline is. I don't know that if that's possible, though. That once we put it out for bid, we have to have a certain amount of time that it's out there, and then we have to have approvals, and then we're dependent upon the contractor's timeline and any other delays that they would have for projects that they have already spoken for this year. But once we get to that point and we get their information back to Bierman's to get, hopefully the other two approved so that we have 4, then we can spin back around, and I've already kind of started scratching that stuff out. But then we can put it out, and we can go from there. So, but if it does go beyond that, it's not something that I want to wait until next spring. We'll do it in October or November or September or December. We did we had great intentions at Athletic when we got that grant for those two, and what was supposed to be August turned into January, February there. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Any
Yeah.
other questions about that?
No, I'd like to say thanks to Dan and Lindsay for putting a lot of time into it.
It's a good thing. There'll be a lot of people that are gonna be impacted by this one.
Okay. Monthly reports. Thank you, Dan, as always, for your time on your monthly report.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any specific questions about anything that's in the report? Any brief highlights you'd like to give us? New Year's off and running. Been pretty crazy to start this first month. I don't know, I think everybody's just excited about getting things started, but between the different organizations that we have, there's people that are kind of pre-planning a lot of things, so it's been a little bit more, at least me, bogged down with a lot of detailed things here to start, which is good, which hopefully alleviates some things when we get to springtime. Ice is rocking and rolling. We got a little bit over a month to go there. Things have been going pretty good. Weather-wise, for our guys, it's been a little interesting. We had, as it said in there, rinks good, then not good, then great. We'll see what happens here with some snow coming up. But otherwise, just looking forward to, for us this time of year, it's a lot of planning and stuff. So getting the recreation stuff organized and ready to go so that we can unveil that sooner rather than later and get it up so people know how to plan for their summer, and working with all the other groups and organizations for high school seasons for sports and traveling seasons, park shelter reservations, getting other things ready to go pool project wise. So Question about the outdoor rinks. Is there in your head, do you have I know we don't really have normal winter weather anymore, but do you have a date, like our outdoor rinks through February into March?
that depends. So we once you guys all probably noticed this too, where you can get a 19, 20, 21 degree day with a little sunshine, and you'll start seeing things drip off of your roof, whereas you don't get that in mid to early January or December, just because that sun angle is so low. When it starts to come up, especially the areas where we have it over grassy areas, that you get some of that oxygen that if there's just enough sun that starts to penetrate, our ice rinks will get boils on them. And once they start to boil, then we'll start to get some cracking and other things like that. And at that point, we leave them alone. It's not worth investing any more money in staffing or water or fuel in doing it. So a lot of that just depends on how many, from here on out, how many sunny 23 plus degree days we get, 25 plus, because those start to take a toll. And from here on out too, if we get those days where more like we got last week when it's 40 something, those will wreck them fast. And again, at this point, it's not worth us reinvesting in it. So we had, ultimately ended up having a good month or a little bit more than a month. Last year was awful because it was up, down, but the up days, we would go, into the upper 30s, low 40s. How many times we had freezing rain or all of that stuff? And that just, we probably had 2 weeks last year with them. So we'll see what Mother Nature gives us, because we are 1,000,000% dependent upon what the weather brings.
All right,
Yeah.
depends.
Yeah.
Good answer. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions for Dan on his report?
You got a number on trees that you marked? Or didn't you keep track of the number?
For
You actually marked to take down?
removals
Yeah.
from 2024
No, from the new marking that you just did.
on Cottage
Was it, yeah,
or not State Street?
yeah. 'Cause I just saw they were marked the other day when I drove by.
Yeah.
You see there's quite a few, huh?
Probably 14, 16, something like that. Yeah, there's, of those, there is probably only 2-ish that are in what I would consider okay to decent health. And unfortunately, those are ones that are going right over the top of where a water lateral or a main is going. So the rest of them are, those are starting to get to from okay to poor. So we'll replant those.
And then with the Smith Center, I know our last meeting, I think it was the last meeting, there was some open skate dates that got canceled because you had people reserving how did that go? I mean.
Okay,
were there
okay.
Any complaints, or, I'm sure you had some. maybe.
Yeah, but nothing out of the ordinary, like, just, oh man, it would be nice, but we've had a lot of outside entities looking to rent our ice this year, so, and we did all right, still did well on open skates. We're very sparse from here on out just because of, hockey has some tournaments, some playdowns, jamborees. This weekend is the Ice Reflections figure skating show, and that takes up the arena from all day on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So weekends are numbered. Our afternoon, our 1 to 3 skates have been all right. We had a number of people there this afternoon, whether it's homeschool people using it like Fayette or for the month from mid-December until last week, there was quite a few. You get college-age kids that come out to skate while they're on break. And from this point on, the afternoon, when we get a lot of people that are retired that want to come out and exercise and skate, some speed skaters and figure skaters. So it's been good. Good questions.
Anything else for Dan? All right, thank you. Last agenda item, set a date and time for the next meeting. If we stay on schedule, our next meeting will be Wednesday, March 5th, 2025, 4:15 p.m. Does that work for most? Yes, okay. Any public comment? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned.